Hey everybody, this is Jack with Vacationese. I know everybody's always asking me about whether you should have your own planner or not, Mexico, wherever it is. Um, so let's talk about that. I want to introduce you to Anastasia, who is a planner in Mexico, who knows the resorts in Mexico, knows how to plan amazing weddings. Anastasia, welcome to my channel. And if you can, tell us a little bit about your company.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for this invitation. It's a pleasure to speak to all of you. My name is Anastasia. I am from Mango Weddings and Events. We are a full service planning and coordinating company here in Riviera Maya area of Mexico. We cover basically Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, and are expanding into the Yucatan, such as Mérida, Valladolid, places like that. We've been in business for about 8 years now, and we really love what we do.
So you mentioned planning. So I know brides are always asking me, Jack, don't the resorts have planners? And what's the difference between an external planner and the resorts planner? So tell us all the stuff you do and maybe how you work. Let's say a bride's working with us and we refer them to you. How do you work with that bride? We're going to take care of the rooms. And yes, the resort may have, or the hotel may have its own planner, but tell us kind of the process you'll work with them to take them from start to finish of their wedding.
When a client hires us, we can basically guide them through the whole process. I think the most important thing is we will be there. How do you say that? We're basically are supporting them and defending their needs. We're looking at the vendor list, we're looking at the pricing, and then because we know the industry, we know whether or not we can beat the pricing, whether or not we can find a better vendor that suits the bride's needs better than what the resort provides. And then we basically guide the couple through the process and, create itinerary, create layout, create minute by minute, help with design. So it's a lot more, I would say, tailored experience, very custom, detail oriented. And the other thing to keep in mind is we don't do more than one wedding per day. We actually don't do more than one wedding per weekend. And in our team, we have 3 full-time planners. So we actually like to split the workload where we only do 2 weddings per month per planner. So as you see, all this just kind of opens up a lot of time, a lot of attention. So the bride feels very special, and we don't have, 5 weddings a day that takes our attention away from that.
Right. So a couple of things you said that I just want to point out to brides. So first of all, so if a bride has a wedding either at an offsite venue or at an all-inclusive resort or a non-all-inclusive resort, you can help. That's great. So you're going to take the bride and have a conference call with them or a meeting, Zoom call, and understand kind of the vibe they're looking for and the flowers. And then you're going to create storyboards or the whole theme of the wedding up front, or the weekend potentially up front, right? Versus, to your point, and with some of the resorts, they just basically send some links out to a bride and say, pick through the catalog.
Mm-hmm.
I would say other resorts, as we've talked about, do have planners or designers. And it really depends on the resort you choose. But your goal is to customize and really create a blowout event for the bride up front.
Look at what the bride needs and try to tailor the event to her needs specifically. So whether she wants a really good photographer, or if the food is really important to her, or the whole experience. Right now, we're getting a lot of non-traditional wedding requests where they don't want your traditional wedding. They want a party, or they want some sort of a festival. We can do all that because we listen to the bride, look at our vendors, and basically put it together for her from start to finish.
Now, one of the hot topics, and I've done a couple videos on this, is outside vendor fees. So as you're aware, many of the resorts are like, whoa, here's our vendor list, here's our internal vendors, and that's it. And some of the resorts actually are like, no external vendors, no nothing. So in that case, let's talk about resorts that actually allow you to work with approved external vendors. How do you work with them if they're the resort vendors or external vendors that the resort has approved? Is that something you work with?
The way that we do it, so first of all, resorts that don't allow vendor flexibility, for us, it's challenging to do our work there. I will be honest. We do love to be very creative. We pay very great attention to details. We use quality vendors. So if we're not allowed to do that at all, then it's probably not something that we would want to be involved in. However, if it's a resort that has a vendor list and we can look through it, a lot of the times our vendors are actually overlapping with some of these resorts. So we would see vendors that they use that we use. And we tell that to the bride, you know what, I've reviewed the vendor list. I think vendor 1, 2, 3 are good options. Let's look at their pricing. Let's get proposals. Let's compare them side by side. And let's make a decision to see who would it make more sense for us to use. The other thing we also do with all inclusives is we would request the pricing from the vendors that the resort provides and look at it. And then we also request pricing from our vendors, slap out the vendor fee and see if it makes sense to stay with the in-house vendor or if it makes sense to bring an external vendor.
You can have the outside vendor pay the inside vendor fee or the outside vendor fee to the resort. And ultimately, it could be the same or less,
or cheaper.
And sometimes it's or cheaper, and sometimes it's not even about price. I tell brides, sometimes it's just about artistic ability.
So that's why we always want to see the list and basically guide the bride through it. Like a lot of times they really don't know that. And we know it because we went through it and we learned from our mistakes and we learned from our past experiences. So this is kind of the value I would say that we bring is our experience, and we can tell the bride, hey, you want a top-notch wedding, with great vendors, maybe do this, this, and this.
Right. So that's the design. Now there's the weddings here. So tell the brides how you work. Either do you meet with them a couple of days before when they get there, and then what do you do during the wedding, and how are you staffing? And so I think that's really important to a bride also, because I tell brides you have two components. You have the design, and then you have the actual implementation and operations of their wedding so they can actually enjoy their wedding, the logistics.
Exactly. So outside of design, there's also the planning stages of all the logistics getting prepped, right? So design is just the creative part, and then we put it all together, we manage the budget, and then when the day comes, in our case, we coordinate as a team. We decide how many people are going to be on our team based on the logistics of the event, the resort itself, where the events take place. Like, for example, is the ceremony far away from reception? Where's the cocktail hour takes place? Generally speaking, for a wedding of like 50 to 100 guests, I usually bring at least 3 girls as support team. So you're looking at a team of 4 people. One of my girls I usually leave with the bride during the getting ready process. So basically, she's the bridal assistant. She's there with her, making sure that, they stick to the schedule. She can help her with the dress, help her with her veil, help answer any questions. She's with her during the photo session, carrying her bouquet, carrying her, veil, basically carrying her stuff. Anything she needs, she has an assistant. So, and I think this is definitely a big plus, because otherwise, you're going to have to use your guests, your, bridesmaids. In our case, we don't ever use guests or bridesmaids for assisting the bride. The rest of my team is usually split. I'll have somebody at the ceremony, making sure the setup is taking place how we envisioned it. And then I usually have a couple of girls at the reception, setting up menus, making sure everything is very straight and how we envisioned it, putting the name tags, guest book, we set that up as well. And then ultimately welcoming guests, both to ceremony, guiding them to the cocktail area, and then guiding them to the reception. So that's kind of how we operate.
That's great. Yeah, I think the hand holding and the level of service is really what you provide. And I think that's
Exactly.
important to brides so they're not all freaked out while they're down there. And especially if there's language barriers at some of the resorts as well.
Mhm.
So,
Correct.
um,
Yeah.
in terms of one of the things we're hearing it now is, hey, Jack, what about if I want to host my wedding at an offsite venue? I still want to have it at the all-inclusive resort, but I want to find something unique, a cenote, a chapel, whatever. Can you tell us about some of your favorite offsite venues that you work with that are in the Riviera Maya, Cancun area?
Yeah, so we love offsite venues. Well, we call them private venues. They definitely provide us with the ability to create the vision from scratch without really any red tape, any hoops to jump through. We get the venue and we do our magic, so to speak. There's a few venues. We work with 6 venues in Riviera Maya area, starting about south of Cancun Airport and going a little bit north of Tulum. So like that Riviera Maya area. I don't think that I have one favorite. Again, I talk to brides initially. I ask what they're envisioning, and based on their vision, I suggest the venue that might be right for them. Just to throw some names at you, I mean, Villa La Jolla is obviously very known here in the area. That is your kind of Italian villa castle looking venue. It's one of a kind. That one's popular for black tie affairs and those brides that don't want to touch the sand and still look at the ocean. Um, Outside of that, we have the Blue Venado properties. I would say those are usually very budget friendly. So for a bride that is trying to stick to a certain budget, but still want to have the ability to customize her wedding, that's the one I usually recommend. The style is a little bit more rustic, but it's really very versatile. You can add some draping, you can add some lights. Definitely flowers help and make it nice.
So from your side, let's go on the premise you can help save brides money, you can make amazing events for them. Can you give us a range if I want to hire you and I have 75 people? A, how far in advance should I contact you? And then B, if I want you to help me design my wedding and manage my wedding, give me a sense of costs of that.
So how far in advance? So we honestly, we would prefer a year notice, but that's not necessarily the case. So, and I told that to my brides, I can plan a wedding in a month. I don't want to do it, but I can, and I've done it
Okay.
before. It's more so, are you ready to plan your wedding last minute, right? Are your guests going to be able to make their plans and travel and everything last minute? Are we going to be limited by the vendors' availability because we're booking last minute? Those are the questions that I usually tell my brides to think about. But usually 12 months in advance is a good time to start. I don't recommend doing it more than, I would say, 18 months in advance. We have brides that come to us, now looking for 2026. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to be in 2026. So it's a little bit too far in advance for us. So anywhere from a year and a half to a year, I think is a good time frame to start. Pricing wise, so it's a good question. The way that we price at a flat fee based on the group size and the number of events, and also the type of a wedding we're doing. Is it a giant production? Is it your traditional wedding, or is it something that's very non-traditional? So every inquiry I get, we tell them our starting fee is $4,000 for planning and coordinating of a wedding day. So your wedding ceremony, cocktail, reception, we plan, we coordinate, starting at $4,000. What is it going to cost to you? It really depends on how many guests, how many events, if you want us to do your website, create it and manage it. So there's a lot of elements that go into our pricing.
Well, hopefully this has been very helpful for brides and grooms. It's been helpful for me because it's a constant question I get and I think I've done a good job of answering for brides, but I figured, why just trust me? Let's bring someone in who's an expert in Riviera Maya Cancun, who I've known for a while, and we've worked together, and you've done amazing weddings. Um, so
Thank you.
if anybody is interested in talking to you and finding you, can you give us your email address, whatever it is? And of course, we'll display it on screen as well.
So the best way, thank you, Jack. The best way to reach us is if you go to our website at mangoweddingsevents.com. We do have a contact us form, which if you fill out, you get an answer right away.
Great. Okay, well, again, thank you for giving us all this knowledge and information. Hopefully brides will take it and be in touch with you as needed. And thanks for being on my little discussion here with you. And as always, everybody, please feel free to subscribe to my videos. And I do post new videos every Tuesday. So this one was very interesting to me. I've taken a lot of notes and I've learned a lot, which is always good. So thanks for being here.